It being 6:30, I call this meeting of the Select Board of Manchester by the Sea to order. Um, Jeff,
Yes.
Kathy, here, Ann is here, Brian,
Yes.
okay. Um, we now take public comments on non-agenda items.
Mention it's being
Meeting is
recorded.
recording.
Ah, all right. This meeting is being recorded. Thank you.
My work here is done.
Are there any comments from people present or people online?
Sarah Pierce.
Sarah Pierce, okay. Sarah, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Sarah Pierce, 9 Front Street. I just had a question about, we had a power outage Friday, and we do tend to get power outages more, I can't say more than, I don't know what happens throughout the rest of the town. But I was also reading an article and just had a question. Bruce Tar, exactly a year ago, had written about Cape Ann's electrical capacity, and it said, right now the grid will not support the expansion, referring to cell signaling coming to Manchester. Moving their headquarters here, basically a question of capacity. How much do we have? That was a year ago prior to cell signaling getting permitted, of course. So I'm just wondering, has anything been done to address the lack of capacity to support, and what will change, or how will that get addressed just for residents? How will that impact us? I was told by National Grid that the grid that actually serves our street is in New Hampshire. I don't know much more than that, but I'm just wondering if you could answer the capacity piece with adding a large company and also, other building projects that could be in the works.
So I can take a stab at that.
Good.
So the grid has assured both the town and CST there is sufficient capacity to serve their phase one and most of phase two. Beyond that, there would have to be some additions or upgrades to the main feeder that comes into town that also feeds all of Cape Ann. So for phase one, there is sufficient capacity in addition to regular household expansions, new housing, etc. We had a meeting with National Grid a couple of weeks ago with their planners and their long-term capital planning. They have a number of projects that they hope to get in the queue for Cape Ann to help with the resiliency or the capacity of the grid. So that is something that is ongoing. They did assure us that there is sufficient capacity to meet the needs of the next 5 years.
Okay, so does Manchester have a specific plan for our town, or that's just Cape Ann as a whole? And I don't know when excuse me, when these phases are ending or starting, or how long it would take and to upgrade that.
So this is something that National Grid is responsible for. As a monopoly, they are required to provide service to the community and have sufficient capacity to do so.
Okay, so when is it, how does the phasing work with CST? That's phase one is supposed to be finished by
27.
2027, and they're saying there's enough capacity electric wise to support what we have in place now.
Right, normal growth and also CST's additional needs.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just wanted to ask that with the concern that the senator had with the company coming here, and also just the multiple power outages that we've had. So thank you.
Yeah, just to finish up, we continue to work with both the senator and Representative Ferrante on our work with National Grid and the DPU as well.
Thank you.
Is there any other? On the chairman's report, I had a conversation with Steve Gang and also with Jody Morse of the Trees, who asked us to consider whether it would make sense for three hearings to be moved from the select board to the Concom. Who, at our last hearing, we needed clarification about property lines and so on that the Conservation Commission already. I'm not asking for any action on this right now, just my feeling is that the parts of the tree policy are overly broad, and I'd like to see the policy brought in a little closer. Greg mentioned that the parts of it make perfectly good sense as long as you're inside the heater. But when you get outside where there aren't sidewalks and there aren't curbs, it gets confusing. And my particular concern is the definition of a heritage tree, which is any tree that's 30 inches in diameter at 4.5 feet above the ground. Anywhere on anybody's property that would require permission to remove any such tree. And without people knowing that they have heritage trees, I don't see how they're going to remember not to take them down. Taken down two recently myself, which were dead, and I think there's an exception for that. So what I'm asking is that we consider whether it makes sense to move the tree hearings, and would it make sense to put together a group including Chuck and Jody, perhaps one of us, to go over the tree policy and narrow the scope.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I think it makes sense to refine the policy first, perhaps, and then hand it off to Concom, but have someone from them represented on the small committee.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay.
We had talked about this over a year ago, as far as moving the tree hearings off the select board's plate. So I think that we've already started, I think some of us have already contemplated this.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Fine, that, our next discussion is about action items. Are there any new action items? We should probably put in something about setting up such a group.
Just a question, did we, at our last meeting, we talked about having a joint meeting with FinCom on the budget in February, and has that been set up yet? Because I don't recall hearing that.
It hasn't been set up yet, no. So it'll be talked about with them on the meeting this Wednesday.
Okay, so you'll take care of that, okay.
In that case, do we have a motion about the open of public hearing?
I move that the select board open a public hearing on the petition of National Grid to install underground PVC conduit to 9 Bennett Street. Second.
Further discussion? Brian,
Yes.
Ann says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
And Jeff? Your show.
Hi all, my name is Nicholas Angelo. I am a design engineer with National Grid. My office location is at 44 River Street in Beverly, Massachusetts. I'm here today to petition on behalf of the customer at 9 Bennett Street for conduit installation within the roadway of Bennett Street for their service, their requested service. We have an existing manhole on Bennett Street that they will be trenching to provide service to a handhole on their property for their underground service.
Assume you've seen the conditions that are, people are making up here.
Yes.
And you are prepared to meet his requirements.
Absolutely, yes.
Questions? I assume you don't know anything about the outage at Desmond Avenue.
Oh, no, I don't. No, I thought you were gonna ask me about the outage referring to this one, but no, unfortunately, I don't.
I think the Colin, you know,
I understand from the very reliable Facebook that we had a manhole cover that flew into the air. It was exciting. Okay. Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, we gotta
Close.
close, yeah. I've been up since 4:30, so we
You
got.
probably should just
Yeah,
ask for a
yeah,
public.
bear with me.
oh, wait, okay, I should ask public input.
I'm not saying any other screen here.
Okay.
Move the select board close the evidentiary portion of the public hearing.
second,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes. Brian?
yes,
And I move that the select board approve National Grid's petition to install underground PVC conduit. um, 99-20 to customer-owned handhole 99-22 and all appurtenances at 9 Bennett Street with the stipulations proposed by the Director of Public Works.
Second.
Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian?
yes.
And I say yes. Okay.
Don't retain this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Oh, just by the way.
Yeah.
On your salutation on the letter to us, it says to the Board of Selectmen, Manchester. And we are now on Select Board.
100%. My apologies on that one. I will make sure that is updated.
Not that we're picky or anything.
No, don't worry. I'll make sure that's updated for sure.
Still. not-
You may identify as anything you want, but we're on a Board of Selectmen. That would make you, or
Yeah,
you
whatever.
and Jim.
Don't even go there.
Select people.
Anyway,
Select
Thank
few.
you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the cultural council application for Linda Crosby. Linda, would you explain to us why, after all of the years of service you've given to the town, you want to give more?
Well, ironically, I really am not familiar with this council. And I am on other boards, and I've been so involved, as you know, in over all the years that I was working in the school system and, chair the school committee. And then, I'm on other boards. I'm on the museum board now and just very engaged in so much. And I was asked by this group if I would come on board because they would like me to help them promote what they're doing. And I know so many people, and I was embarrassed to say that I really was not familiar with what they were doing. And now reading up about it and attending an introductory meeting, they have grants that allow them to do so many wonderful projects, but I don't think that they're all well enough attended and publicized. And so I don't know if I can make a contribution, but I'm, willing to try. And, so, here I am. I didn't realize I had to come. I didn't remember, I'm on the Downtown Improvement Project Board, and I've been on that for quite a while. And, I've also been very engaged in the church Steve Carhart and I have started something called the Stephen Ministry, thinking of training people to go out into the community and help people in urgent need. And I'm developing a resource directory all over the North Shore of helping agencies. So I think probably my connections are what they want from me, because I certainly don't have a artistic, cultural set of credentials to offer.
Talk a little
Okay,
more. It's still not, it's very low. So
okay,
just project.
okay, okay.
Is
Do you-
checking.
Jeff, do you have any questions for Linda?
No, not really, just thank you for stepping up and thank you for doing this.
Even though I'm an old lady and you were my student, and here I am still.
I won't hold it against you.
Did you fail him?
No.
Okay.
I think it was like a D mine.
No, a stellar student for sure. And Ann and I have worked together,
School board, yeah.
school board, and, you know, I feel like I've been involved in a lot of things. Maybe I can contribute. I don't know. I'm not even sure what my term is. Is it a 1-year renewable or
2 years,
what do you say?
June 30th, 2027.
2 years, okay. Can you think of anything else I can tell you?
I was just going to say that we have a wonderful resource in Tiffany Marletta,
I know that, yeah.
and
You think we're maybe not utilizing her enough?
I hate to suggest that anyone do anything more to make Tiffany's life difficult or even challenging.
Yeah.
But she's, as you get ideas of how to move things out, she is a resource that should be available to the culture.
Okay. Well, Marion Powers has a major project plan that will involve the rotunda and doing all kinds of creative art projects around it, not just at the rotunda, but using that as the focus, and that's gonna start the end of June, and so we're all working on that, and we'll come up with some new ideas, I'm sure, and it'll be fun for me. So I appreciate your support.
No, I have no questions. I just think your network would be very helpful to that council. So thank you for agreeing to step up.
Well, when I moved here 55 years ago, I thought, oh, we were newly married, we'd be bored in a few years and we'd move on, but I could never do this.
Okay, is.
I move that the board appoint Linda Crosby to the Cultural Council for a term to expire on June 30th, 2027.
Second,
Jeff,
Yes.
Kathy,
yes.
Anne says yes.
Ronnie says yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That was much easier than I thought it could have been.
We try not to discourage volunteers very much.
All right, well, thank you, and I enjoyed seeing you all and hearing your meeting.
So we've got a few concerns about the volume of people's voices.
Okay,
So they did try to turn it up a little bit from the council, but if you, out in the hall, but if you could just remember to speak up, that'd be helpful.
all right. Now we get to the awkward part. The people at 33 Harbor Street are neighbors and friends, and I would not, it would not be appropriate for me to be part of this discussion. So I am going to recuse myself. Would somebody volunteer to take this item on?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
If anybody can hear me. So, Greg, the Reader's Digest version is that this household received a larger than expected bill, but it seems to be an accurate bill. Is that correct?
Right, I don't think the accuracy is in question. It's the dollar amount because they were surprised by the new rates in the different tiers that we had created last July.
Do we have the homeowners here to discuss it or make a statement?
Yeah, I don't. Unless they're under a known name, a different name, I don't see their name listed here. Participating. Did we hear from him?
No, but they were told that, yeah.
Yeah.
Put it on the next agenda.
So, I'm sorry, I don't see their name here, so we may have to postpone this yet
Yeah,
again.
I mean, I think we should give the homeowners an opportunity to state their case.
Yes,
So if you guys are in agreement, we can postpone this to the next available meeting slot.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Someone will-
we'll try to confirm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second in.
And we're done. Probably. No, we just sent out a mailer, correct? About the new rates and,
There were mailers
Oh,
in the
included.
fall. And so the, part of the concern was that was
Oh,
after the
after that,
fact, in terms of after use, that's
okay.
part of the concern.
Go get
Have
in.
we had any other complaints or?
There's been a few other phone calls, but people sort of accepted the explanations. This is the only formal request for an abatement.
It's often more efficient when Nan's not here. Like,
Okay. The next item is to review and consider, I'm sorry, approval to join Cape Ann Transportation Authority to provide service to Manchester by the Sea.
So this is something that you've been talking about for a while. A couple meetings ago, you said, let's proceed. And you have Felicity here from CADA. She can answer any questions about the process, but we do need a formal vote for you to officially request permission to join the authority.
And then the service, the specifics of the service would be discussed after we formally request to join.
So process, and why don't you go through that for us, Felicity?
Yeah, the board, could you just for our notes, give your name? You don't need to stand up.
All right. Felicia, last name is Webb, W-E-B-B. And I'm the administrator at CADA. So the process is you vote to join. The town notifies me. I arrange an advisory board meeting with my existing board. They vote to accept or reject. I think you guys joining would be very exciting for the board. They would be looking forward to that. After that takes place, then I would work with the town, someone designated by the town, to develop the actual service, days, hours, the amount of the local assessment that would be moving from Manchester or the MBTA line item over to the RTA line item. We'd finalize that. And then once you're satisfied, once CADA is satisfied, then service would begin. And then somewhere along that process, after the advisory board votes, I notify MassDOT that Manchester has joined CADA.
So start to finish, is it a 6-month process? Is it a?
It could be a 6-month process. Hamilton joined December of 2019, and I believe we started their service July of 20. So that was about 6 months.
About 6 months,
I think it's a great idea.
All in favor?
You know, I've had even some public comment. saying that
Yes, we
this-
did.
Yeah, everybody, I think it's.
Yep.
Yep.
Ready for a motion? Select board approve, Manchester by the Sea, join Cape Ann Transportation Authority, and to have CADA develop a service proposal for the board to review and approve at a future meeting.
Second,
Further discussion?
Yes.
Jeff says yes, Kathy? Yes. Dan says yes, Brian?
yes.
Okay,
I just actually, one question.
Mhm. out of order.
Out of order.
Go
How
ahead.
long, before you stop presenting plans to us? Is that,
Depending on the
If we're
schedule,
approved, oh, by the way, if we're approved.
if you guys are approved,
Mhm.
just depending on the schedule of when I sit down and talk to somebody
We're
from,
talking a
from the
month,
town.
6
Maybe
weeks.
a month.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's good. Thank you.
I mean, I don't see it being overly complex service.
Mhm.
I think it should be fine.
We do have a raised hand, MBTS, I'm not sure who that is.
Okay.
Oh, hi, it's Mary Foley, 1 Pulaski Drive. Just a question. It seems this must have been discussed at a meeting prior, but you're voting on something and could you let me and anyone else listening know what the actual details are? What are you looking for? Are you looking for daily service? What's the amount being moved from the MBTA budget, et cetera? Thank you.
Thank you.
So the basic concept is to complement our current COA vans with a similar on-demand service. And probably our budget that we're currently giving to the MBTA, in the 130,000 range, would likely purchase up to 3 days worth of service in that range. But again, those details are what will be finalized over the course of the next few months.
So just as a follow-up, if that gets transferred from the MBTA, then we no longer have to pay the MBTA. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Further? Questions online?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is expanding the special event permit to include the harvest. Greg, can you tell me what says the underlined language is added here to include the harbor, but there are other things that are not underlined that need the additions, so could you just I assume that the red paragraph is original except for the underlined parts.
Correct, yes. So we're adding harbor waterways.
Yep.
And then, but then, so it's not consistent, so then, what is new is now in red. The bullet points that are red are new.
Okay,
So that written safety plan 60 days in advance. With the maximum number of attendees and vessels. So that is proposed to be new language. And then the other bullets as well. So the non-boat owner transportation plan would be something that we added as a new piece of information. Establish safety channel for egress to and from the event. Harbor detail. And then penalty for unpermitted events.
What is the penalty?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. What is the penalty?
Probably. Yeah, I'll have to nail that down.
I guess my other question there too is, how do we decide who's running the event? Maybe you have a ton of people out there.
So someone has to apply, right? Someone has to.
Well, I'm saying if someone against the rules, if nobody applied for a permit, you have a ton of people out there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Who's, you
Who
know,
do you
who's
go after?
responsible? Who are you gonna send this to?
Yeah.
I would also ask, as far as a family event, is that like a birthday party? I think the original that's all started as a birthday party, didn't it? The, classes,
Yeah, I don't know.
That started as a
Yeah,
birthday
maybe,
party,
something
wasn't
like that,
It was a birthday.
and then it grew.
10 years ago.
But it would that be classified as a family event? Family and friends?
Is any posting of a gathering on any social media platform. I don't know. Kathy, you have?
Oh, I thought we kind of walked through, trying to dig up my notes from the last time we had a big meeting on this. And I'm struggling to find my notes from that meeting, unfortunately.
Okay, one of the things that we ask for is what is an event? And I don't have a good idea from this language, what is an event? For example, the high school sailing team has races with, other schools. Is that an event? It's almost certainly advertised on social media. How about the MSA? They use the harbor.
So I guess if we think about what's the outcome we're trying to achieve, it's a safe water events, right? But also the event sponsors paying for the extra public safety details necessary to make it safe. So to me, the types of questions, there's gotta be some sort of a scope, either number of planned attendees or, something
Do
of
we
that
actually
nature.
have to have a harbor detail every time MSA puts boats on the water?
Right,
Right.
but do they pay for it?
No.
So that's my point, is is this policy intended to start charging event sponsors for the extra public safety personnel that are
The
needed?
operative word is extra,
Extra, yes.
all right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything else, like military flyovers, well, they're gonna train anyway. Okay, but if all of a sudden we have to bring in additional resources, I think that becomes the tipping point.
Right, but how do you know when you're,
Well,
Like their cardboard.
cardboard boat
thing.
race, we have the harbor master, Mike's out there all the time, but he's gonna be there anyway, I don't see that as,
but the event application, I think includes insurance and.
I don't wanna discourage
Right.
fun
Right.
water either.
Yeah.
I
No.
agree with that.
Could we start slowly and then add if we find we
You certainly can. I mean, it's easy to modify.
didn't cover enough, so specifically,
parameters.
I don't want commercial, entities telling all their customers, Lollapalooza here at Manchester. Not interested. They gotta fill out the form. So maybe we start with, commercial entities advertising, on water events. Maybe, can we start with that, or is that too, is that in some way discriminatory towards businesses?
Well, it would be outside the scope of what they normally do, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. So to me, that's the headache that I definitely would like to prevent. And then these parties,
I think we gotta get a size down,
yeah.
because, I mean, if 10 boats pull up for the afternoon and cook hot dogs at Sand Dollar Cove,
Right.
people don't need a permit,
Right.
but,
And I'm anxious to see that it doesn't involve sailing races, for example.
I've got a little thing about cardboard boats too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, stuff like that, yeah.
You know, and so what, again, now it would come full circle, what is an event? and we've seen, and
Right.
then where does
What is
the
the
impetus
event
that
we
started
want?
this whole discussion, what is that? Is that an event?
What is the event we want to target, I guess is what we gotta get down to.
300 boats?
Well, like I said,
Right.
personally, mine is the commercial ones. I don't believe we should be asked to handle those without those people forking over
absolutely.
money.
So I wonder if you could start off with commercial events
Mhm.
and events that will bring in more than, pick a number, is it 100 boats? Is it 50 boats?
50, I think is more like it.
Well, why, I think that would be a good question to ask the harbor master, how many can you handle without extra resources, right? Because the point of this is to ask the event sponsor to pay for extra resources to keep it safe. I would ask Bion,
Yeah. I think
how many
that's a
boats
good
can you
point.
handle without the extra resources?
So what can you handle with what you have on the water daily?
Be
Without,
careful with the number of boats, because a sailing regatta with 5 schools could easily have 10 boats per school.
I still think it's a valid question to ask Bion, though,
Yes, absolutely.
because, you know, you may want somebody else to pay for it, but I think the key issue is safety, and if he needs extra resources somehow
Mm.
because of us exceeding a certain number of boats, I think that's a,
yeah, I think the number is, what is the number that will strain your resources
Yes.
for what is normally a scheduled day?
Mhm.
Okay,
Busy Saturday versus, you know, crazy.
I mean, I would think also that he, based on weather forecasts, he will staff accordingly. Right, so, anticipating a busy day in the harbor. But then we don't want to also, you know, so maybe brings in a couple extra people, but then there's an event or something going on at Sand Dollar that no one knew about or didn't know about, that it's gonna tie up, bring in, he's gotta call in extra people. So,
And you're unprepared because.
I think the starting point, like you say, is we'll start with commercial
Mhm.
and see how it goes for a year.
Yeah, we can always come back.
Yeah, I think we'd like, given that this isn't going to happen in the next 2 months, I'd like, not just we say commercial and it goes, I'd like to see this again.
Yeah.
With the, in final form. Um, the review and approve the 26 Central Street easements. Good.
So this is in regards to the Central Street Culvert Project. As you know, we've been dealing with one property owner in particular to make sure we have the necessary easements for the project to proceed. We don't need very much. The permanent easement is less than 20 square feet. Similar size for a temporary, in order to replace the basically the support wall that is already there. It gets replaced with a new wall. Town council recommends the formal language as a motion to allow you to pursue acquiring that temporary and permanent easement by filing the appropriate paperwork in the Registry of Deeds and paying damages recommended of $4,000.
okay, I move pursuant to the provisions of GLC 83, Section 4, to acquire a permanent and a temporary easement on property located at 26 Central Street for drainage culvert purposes, and to award damages in the amount of $4,000 for said taking, and further to execute an order of taking to take said easement.
Second. Further discussion.
So proceeding with this, we will still continue to reach out to see if the property owner would like to enter into a broader agreement. If this allows the project to continue to move forward.
Has there been any motion?
No, there's not.
Ready to vote?
Excuse me.
Brian,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Okay.
We do have a hand up.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is that-
Mary Foley.
Is that Mary? Yeah.
Hi, Mary Foley. Could you please explain what, let's see, an order of taking means?
So it means that the town is able to file the necessary paperwork to have access to that portion of the property.
So I'm sorry, I'm not being very smart with this, but I still don't know what that means.
It means the town can have access to the property, even if the property owner doesn't wish to grant that permission
And how do you do that?
by this action.
Okay, so you could do that with any property in town?
For drainage purposes, yes.
For what?
For drainage purposes, you can have that authority.
Just drainage?
Well, the town has other authorities, but it will require different processes. Some of it requires town meeting votes, some of them don't, depending on what's involved.
Okay, do you have a law you could point me to so I could look at that?
As mentioned in the motion, chapter 83, section 4.
Okay, thank you.
Nope. Okay.
Yes, so we are still open to discussion, is what we're saying also.
Yes, yeah, we can always entertain negotiations. Yeah, absolutely.
But this allows,
We welcome that. We've been trying for that for the last year and a half, so.
so but this allows DPW to start to go to fees and stuff.
Right, continues the permitting process and the bidding process with the contractor.
When would that window close to work with the property?
But it actually never closes, in essence. You can always go back. Nothing prevents that from happening.
We're not out to harm the property owner. So that's why we'll leave it open in that regard.
Correct.
We just have a responsibility to the town.
Right, this is a pretty major project. There's significant money on the line. It's an important project to do before it fails. Having that culvert fail would be,
Well, it was 2 years, that Central Street would close for 2 years.
oh, at least, yes, yeah.
You have the
Yeah,
Royal
and-
Side Bridge.
Well, and the damage that it would cause to many properties. So yes,
Big sinkhole.
Sarah Pierce, I saw him.
Sarah, please.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask, what exactly is happening to the culvert as far as, is it a structural? I know, Greg, you and I spoke the day of that big flood we had. I've a little confused as to what this project is actually doing.
So the project removes the existing tide gate that is there, takes out the existing culvert and puts in a larger concrete culvert with a stone face. And then rebuilds the retaining walls that are currently there on both the upstream and downstream sides. better railings, safety measures, et cetera.
How did you find out that it was
Really?
compromised?
It's inspected by the state every other year, I believe it is, and they have listed it as a close to failed culvert for the last 8 years.
Wow, okay, no, I mean, I've lived here my whole life and it's been, to my knowledge, the same structure there. So
Yeah,
when,
that structure, the stonework underneath continued to drop out. Stones continue to fall out of it.
so will it change the water flow at all?
It'll expand the capacity of the culvert, so it'll be able to handle larger storm events.
Larger storm events, so like when it flooded behind the excuse me, fire station in that area, that would help that situation to retain more water coming through there, or it would easily flow through
So
more.
it'll allow that water to drain faster and not back up so much by the fire station and further up Sawmill Brook at the School Street crossing, et cetera.
Oh, okay. Okay, and when would that project start?
Our hope is to have it start this fall.
And do you know how long it would take?
Probably a 6 to 9 month construction project.
6 to 9 months. Okay. And I just wondered, on a side note, I know we were talking about the culvert, but what happened with the rotunda? Was that ever repaired?
That is slated hopefully also next fall. We're going after funding this winter and spring.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
The next item is an update on the provisional mooring program.
So the update is that all people on the waiting list were given information regarding the possibility of, if they wanted to pursue having a mooring through the Manchester Marine. This is the only marina that's wanting to offer commercial moorings to boaters. And so that notification process yielded, I want to say, about 60 people who are interested. And so the first 12, so there are 12 moorings being offered. So in chronological order on the waiting list, of those 60, the first 12 are given that opportunity to sign up for that. I believe, my understanding is 10 of those first 12 said yes. And then has moved to the next 2 on the list. And don't have the update on what those 2 have said. But that's the process that's been followed. So it believe is working as you had requested. Off for the first round.
Yeah, there will never be another round this large,
Correct.
unless.
Most likely.
Most-
Very unlikely to be around this large.
The difference between what the town charges and what the commercial vendors charge is, in my opinion, a huge incentive for paper sheet. And this is something that I think we need to be very careful about. Not suggesting that anybody in this town would cheat, but we don't want to have, this is something we just really need to keep an eye on. Difference is $8,000 between.
is cheaper than a lot of slips somewhere, so, I mean, not a lot.
No. Well, they're paying the maximum size boat that can fit on it, that's why, right?
Right.
That's why it's so expensive.
I think they can,
Yeah.
they can take.
But they could go a little higher. They go to
can up
45. But they are charging as the minute, the charge is equivalent to a 35-foot.
Right.
Vessel. So,
Well, good that it's going well.
but your comment is absolutely correct, that we want to make sure that is, and it needs to be by law. It needs to be controlled by the harbor master. Needs to be made available equally, and everyone needs to know the price up front. So those details are important.
So we should get at least an update every year of how that's.
Yes. Yes. It certainly is appropriate.
And the names of the people who have those have to be made public
Yes,
and.
yes. In fact, Brian and I were talking about so Brian, I'll back up. Brian has developed a database through Access Software, sort of a homegrown program that he put together. There are a couple of commercial grade app platforms that do similar work with a little more robust reporting. And so we've been looking into that the last week. He's got a recommendation to move forward with one of those commercial products. I think that would help facilitate the reporting out of who's on the waiting list, the transactions every year, etc. He has all that in his database. It takes a little digging to get to it all. And so I think this would probably be a worthwhile investment.
Working into the budget.
Yeah, it's a $3,500
Yeah, right.
cost. It's in the scheme of things, pretty minor.
You know what the name of it is?
Town Mooring, I think is what he told me. I'm pretty sure that's correct. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know, but I think that's what he told me.
Right. Next item is screening committee. I had email from John saying that he was in favor of Eli Bowling and Geo for select board and Rob Beatty and Betty Jakes.
If we each want to go around. I was with, I have the same recommendations for Rob Beatty and Becky Jakes on the at-large. On the former select board, I agree that either Muffin or Tom ought to be on the screening committee because they've done this before. I lean towards Muffin though, because she brings that housing perspective that we talked about. And that's how I mentioned this last week. That's how I'm approaching this, is what is the unique, skill set that somebody brings to the table, and she brings the housing aspect in my mind. And Eli, I think he had some very unique experience as the chair during his tenure, and his comment around the TA needing to educate the select board around the state and municipal laws and the relationship. He's the one that really talked about the relationships outside the town. That's what I thought was very unique about his input. So I was leaning towards Muffin and Eli for the select board.
I really wish we could have three because that would be my dream team, but, yeah, I like Tom and, Eli. Becky, I like her. She has a lot to offer, but as being a former select board member and then being an at-large member, I don't know if
I share that.
yeah.
I share that as well. I kind of felt like we should have dealt with that last Thursday a little bit.
Well, I didn't
You know.
even know, I never even got her email or anything, so
Yeah, the last, I think I heard was that she was,
she was
Fascinating.
right,
No, she sent an email. It might have gone to your junk folders too,
I
because she
got it.
did send,
you did,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she did.
yeah, she did send it to all of us.
so maybe it is in my junk.
Could have been in the junk folder.
I kind of think it should be a resident, in my mind.
But did you, I'm sorry, did you have two on the resident side?
I like Gar and, what's the,
well, maybe,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Absolutely. From the at-large, Rob Beatty, without a,
Mhm.
okay, I think brings an awful lot. You know, a ton of it. And I know we talked about former selectmen, but we also talked about, is this are we drafting for best available position or trying to fill a need? And I think that Becky, with her experience, as her recent experience and what she's knows what we have to face going forward. I would, as far as the at-large, I would go with Becky and Rob with Dave Crean just right there, you know. It's unfortunate there's three at both ends that I wanted, okay? I
Right,
want
I know,
6.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that Dave brings a lot of, because the things that we have going forward will be a lot of infrastructure. And I think Dave would know how to ask a lot of those questions. So that's, you know.
Yeah, I can see that, now you say that.
actually, too, I like Gar too. His experience is outstanding.
Mhm.
His documentation said he was not available for like a week during the whole process, so that's kind of why I didn't include
And
him in
it's-
my thinking. He has an outstanding
Right.
skill set.
So right now, I would say Becky and Rob Beatty. And then on the select board side, Muffin, and then it's a toss-up between Lee Spence and Tom Keough. I've got one, well, I had them both. I was all set. It was gonna be Lee and Muffin, okay, those two. And then Tom had to come in and just mess up because I think he did a great job with his presentation, his understanding, his experience. The more I talk about this, I might be changing my mind. But, so I got Muffin, you can put Muffin down. And, Tom. Actually, I talked myself into
There's
Tom.
no bad.
There's no
picking,
bad
so-
decision.
Well, no, it's all plug and play. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Everyone's plug and play. We're not giving up anything. There's no bad decision here. Okay?
So what does Ann think?
I like for the selectmen, Muffin and Eli. Muffin goes back a long way. And she's involved in the housing, which is important. And, Eli is a very good person to work with.
Mhm.
And I think having him there would make it easier for the group to come to consensus. So, and, you know, he was chairman of the select board for 5 years, I think, of the 9 that he was on the board.
Not during the pandemic?
And during the pandemic
Yeah,
and
yes, and-
dealing with trying to figure out how to deal with remote meetings, which was just, anyway. For the, non-selectmen, I think Becky has too much selectmen and we've got selectmen really covered. And I also, Rob Beatty, beyond question, and I think I would pick Gar if he weren't unavailable.
Yeah, that,
The unavailable.
the unavailable bothered me. I just thought it was too much time
He's
to
just-
not be available.
He represents a different part of town than
Yep.
everybody else. But if it's going to be hard enough to schedule
Right.
the interviews.
Are
without-
we getting good resumes in, do you know, I mean, is the team, once we pick people tonight, is our recruiter ready to kick the team off next week, or what's the plan here?
Yes,
Okay.
probably the following week.
Okay.
Yes. And then have interviews, early, that first week of March.
Yeah, Garth said he wasn't available, so to me, that was my only reason for not selecting him.
And I think,
So I heard consensus around Mr. Beatty for at-large.
And you've got almost unanimous on Eli. 3 and 3, Tom and Muffin. Did you vote for the second resident?
I think, you met Ned,
David Craig.
David
David
Green. David Green. Lee is great, but Lee and Muffin have a certain amount of overlap in their point of view. Trying to get different.
Moving up accounts.
So do we want to focus on one category?
Yeah.
So for former select board members, you've got Eli has 4 of the 5 votes. And then you have both Muffin and Tom having 3 each.
Would it hurt to have a tiebreaker? We have, right now, we have an even number, don't we? As
Well,
far as the
okay,
anti-committee?
there's a question about whether we count, John's votes. Because he's not present for this discussion. And frankly, I gave you that information as, background, but I don't think that somebody who's not here.
Technically, he can't vote.
Technically, he cannot
He
vote.
cannot.
Okay. So then what is the count then?
So then you have 3 for Muffin, 2 for Tom.
I think I do feel Muffin, her perspective on the housing, her and the fact that she hired Greg.
Tom did too, right?
And Tom did too, but the housing piece is why I lean towards Muffin, because Tom, outstanding, right? We kind of got this, I mean, he's got the schools experience, but we kind of got that covered, right, with Chris Reed. And I just think that she brings something unique that we won't have any representation on that subject that I can think of.
And she's passionate about the house.
Well, and she's on nonprofit boards, working, ancillary issues as well. If she's not on the board, then who covers that topic area? That's my concern, because we don't know what we're doing there yet. We haven't got a good solution, and the next TA has got to come in here and help us with that. It's not just about the infrastructure projects, it's about what do we do with the land we have, and so I think she could ask some pretty good questions, and hopefully could get someone to check that box too.
So it's Rob and
So just on the select board, so go with Muffin, so Muffin and Eli,
Muffin, Eli.
and then for the other 2, we got Beatty, and then 2 for Becky, 1 for Gar, 1 for David.
I'll change my guy to, Dave.
Right, so we have a 2-2 tie. 2 for Becky, 2 for David.
You did, thanks a lot. You did, didn't
Not
create more
ourselves.
problems than it was.
I'll just go home now.
No.
Yeah. Dave? Rob is also, has not been much involved in town, but Dave has been here for a long time, and it's been, I think, a decade or more since he's been on a town committee. And as you point out,
Yep. We've got the select board members covered. Okay, I will change my vote and go with Rob and David.
Put everyone over the phone.
Yep.
So it's Rob and Dave Crean.
So David Green, Rob Beatty, Eli Bowling, and Muffin Driscoll.
I move the select board appoint Rob Beatty and Dave Crean as at-large members to the town administrator screening committee.
Second. Further discussion? Brian?
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I move that the select board appoint Eli Bowling, Margaret Driscoll as past select board members to the town administrative screening committee.
Second.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
Thank you. Not easy when you have such good candidates.
Yeah. Okay. On the consent agenda, are there any, I guess we do liaison updates next. Yeah.
I don't.
Yes, we,
I don't have anything else.
yeah,
At this point, I know that, the Fourth of July Committee, part of the Parks and Rec, had their first meeting last week. All new members, two new members on the Fourth of July Committee, so we'll see how that works out. Sean Zahn, it's a bullhorn, so I can see him at the starting line. And, who was, I forget,
yeah, good play.
I forget, she applied for a job, for a position on the Parks and Rec. She's an event coordinator,
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
yes.
so, she was drafted, so, and she looked, eager to get started. I don't know if they realize they're gonna get started this early, but Fourth of July is
Only weeks away.
right around the corner. Soon as they get rid of the snow in the streets.
The school committee is having a public hearing on their budget, at Essex, starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We have 3 candidate budgets, one proposing increase of more than 9%, which maintains, level services, that is, they're not eliminating programs, they're not eliminating major project, no major positions. And I have forgotten. At one point, they were considering saying, well, we think the 24% increase in health insurance is too much, so we're going to pretend it's 15% and work from there to develop a budget. I hope they have cleaned that up, but I'm not sure.
They actually had it down to 10%.
Yeah. $1 million of magic is a little scary. The next budget that they proposed includes significant reductions, eliminating the middle school principal and eliminating the facilities director. I have spent a long time looking at schools, high school finances, and the place they're very cheap is on facilities maintenance And I hate to see the facilities manager go. That's a person who is, it's not somebody who's focused on, I mow the lawn, somebody who.
Building.
I'm the middle school principal. There's a retirement, so it's not that they have to let somebody go. On the other hand, I'm not suspect we all have a number of letters from parents of middle school students who feel that the attention that a principal gives to the schools. And I think there was also a 2.5% increase budget, and I don't know anything. It should be very interesting tomorrow.
Yeah, we've all read the emails.
Yeah.
Everyone who wants the 9% increase, I'll have a Manchester address. You know,
And I have a question. A couple of years ago, the school committee was supposed to have a strategic planning session to, because they keep saying that there are structural changes that need to be made in order to budget differently and really address the structural issues with the budget. Did they ever have that session? I can find no evidence that they did. That's what I'm concerned about, because without, structurally looking at the organization and the budget in that way, then all you do is cut until you can't cut anymore, and you wind up with the proposals we have in front of us. So I just feel it was a missed opportunity for the school department, the school committee, and the administration to really take a look at some of those structural changes. And we're living with the result.
Jeff, what is that looking at?
I think we're at 3.5. I think. Is that what you got? What did you get, Greg? 3.5?
Yeah. We
But
plugged in.
they're going, I mean, as far as healthcare and all the,
We hit that a few years ago, but yeah, that'll be coming again at some point. We're kind of
you know, bigger
along.
population to draw from them. As far as the overall budget goes, right?
Problem with our budget is we get a lot of grants that regular schools don't get. We raise a lot of money, like we raised 5 million this year. So our budget's, the tech school budget's a little bit different from even though it's still a regional school, we have a few more opportunities to pick up money that regular school system wouldn't. And because we have towns that are part of our district that aren't as wealthy as Manchester, so that helps our chapter 70 and stuff like that.
So if we were to change it from that to put the word tech into the Manchester Essex Regional School Tech District,
Yeah, if you move the town somewhere else, you might be onto something. But, yeah, everybody goes through it.
we've been watching, we've known this is gonna happen. And
The opportunity.
it's not gonna get better, it's gonna get worse.
So last week's finance committee meeting where the school committee was at, administration, they did talk about embarking on a multi-year number crunching exercise. Now, I don't know exactly what that'll all entail.
And they said the same thing last year and the year before. So
I did go to, held into the, a meeting of the school committee, finance committee. And, Michelle, has a spreadsheet that goes out 5 or 6 years at least. But it just assumes approximately the same increase line by line. And surprise, surprise, the
Right.
results come out
That's not what they discussed. a couple of years
Audit, that's, I
The Dempsey.
mean, Desi, I know does audits, but I mean, really you should have a third party come in and.
Right.
Well, I mean, they do a financial audit every year.
Well, I think the audits that are done though are more around compliance to, the compliance audit's not, is this the best way to run a school? What are some other ideas? Like the operational audit, I hope to get it from our team. When is that coming, by the way?
Should be Wednesday,
Ugh,
should be Wednesday.
okay. So that type of operational audit is what the school committee, what the school system, excuse me, needs to do. And I'm hoping that, you know, the results of our operational audit might be an example of what they could do. Because the DESI stuff is more
Right,
focused
it's
on
more-
quality, is what
right.
could you do if you had a blank check as opposed to, you know.
I mean, they get into financial. But they approve your budget too, so it's like. I mean, at this point, another set of eyes.
Would
you
be
know what I mean?
beneficial.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, I won't be around tomorrow night. Y'all have a really cool meeting. I'm gonna move that the board approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Further discussion. Brian,
Good, yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so to kick off with just a few highlights from last week's MMA Connect 351, the new name of the annual meeting. 351 communities in Massachusetts, so that's where the Connect 351 comes from. It's held at the Convention Center in Seaport, different venue. That venue is a little large for
Freezing.
it is. It was chilly out there. Yeah, I think a few lessons learned. They need to consolidate it in one section, so rather than have to walk a block or two just to get to a workshop, I think that could be a little better. But nonetheless, still a lot of good information. I know that John and Kathy were both there for at least part of it. The trade show is always interesting. We talk to different vendors and see different products. I know that both John and Kathy connected with.
Yes, we've got some,
Airbnb.
whenever I go to one of these things, I always try to get something for free. And we got some interesting information on short-term rentals. So I went up to one of the vendors and I said, supposedly we have 3. And how many did they come up with?
Well, so conservatively, one came up with 40 some odd.
Yeah, 40-ish. So basically, they have this software that, you know, scrapes multiple websites to identify people that have short-term rentals and that type. When we discuss that topic next week, at our next meeting, one of the things we'll want to think about is not just what the policy should be, but how we want to, what do we want to enforce, right? And how do we want to enforce? And then you may need some type of tool to help with that. So that was very interesting. What else did you find interesting, Greg? I found a couple other things that were cool.
Yeah, they had their whole EV alley this year, which was new. Different vehicles, the police cruisers and buses and utility trucks that were all electric. So they're coming. So I think that's encouraging. There's keynote speakers I think are always worthwhile and good to hear. And we had the governor and lieutenant governor both give presentations. Some of the new legislation that'll be filed, they will be refiling. In fact, they did just this past Friday what they're calling Municipal Empowerment Act
yeah.
2.0. So that was filed last year, it didn't go anywhere. It's designed to give municipalities a few more tools in the toolbox in terms of revenue options, some taxing abilities that we currently don't have. For example, a real estate transfer tax, which could be very helpful in funding affordable housing. But is.
The other thing I'm
lot of
keeping
push
my
and
eye
pull on
on
that.
was part of that bill is the automated speeding enforcement.
Yes,
That was very interesting that they put that in their bill, not to be a criminal penalty, but just a civil penalty, so it wouldn't cause anybody's insurance to go up, et cetera. But there's renewed energy around that because they recognize the towns need help, you know, being able to enforce speed. And it, you know, the software provider that does it is right in Beverly. And it's the same type of business model as the safety sticks we have, you know, so something to keep our eye on to help the chief.
I forget that I heard that. I read this in the Boston Globe, but I think I read that, you're allowed one camera per 5,000 people.
yes, that is the current language.
So you put one and try it out in a bad spot and see where it goes.
Yes.
I think
you know?
way down towards Magnolia. Because people up behind
This is
them.
where this state takes baby steps, you
Yeah,
know, and
okay.
in order to get people comfortable with things and, you know, other
Yeah.
states do it and it works just fine.
The town did receive an award from Maya for our wellness programming, so hats off to both Jen Yasko and Cheryl Marshall who had that up for us. So that was nice to receive. It was disappointing news, the health insurance rates, so Maya announces their rates at the annual meeting. So the average will be just shy of 15% for an increase. At the high end, it could be as high as 20%. At the low end, 10%. So my preliminary budget had a 10% increase. We will know our number, where we fall in that 10 to 20 range, in another 2 weeks. I'm expecting it to be closer to 15 than 10.
Give a pat on the back, nice job here, we're gonna screw it up.
It's, yeah, it's a combination of lots of factors. Utilization is up across the board. It's sort of nationwide. So the national trend is about a 10% increase. So you put on top of that higher utilization, and you put on top of that some very expensive new drugs. Some of these weight loss drugs, for example, are very expensive and very popular. And Medicare's and Medicaid are paying less to the hospitals. So hospitals are pushing hard to get insurance companies to pay them more. So they're putting real pressure on the Blue Crosses of the world to renegotiate contracts and pay them more. So not only is it disappointing for this coming year, but everyone was saying, be prepared for this for the next 3 years.
We gotta get serious about trying these HSAs and maybe cooperating with the schools. You know, is there an opportunity for us to partner with the school district and Essex, the town, around implementing some of these HSAs, even if, you know, it's not for the unions yet, just for the non-using personnel, we might have economies of scale there that could still help us, but we've gotta get serious about this.
Yeah, we do have an high deductible product. We only have 2 or 3 people taking it at this point.
We gotta really, and
So,
help them understand it's
Yep.
good
What is the downside of it?
change, honestly. I wish I had it, you know, my company offered it earlier. But and it's especially good for folks who are younger. It's like having a 401k for your health.
So that's what people don't understand. So
Lowers your taxes. It's just, the
that's
young
what people have a
love
hard
it.
time grasping.
Yeah, they just don't understand it. It's gotta be explained to them in a way that helps them understand, but once
What-
people get it,
What about somebody who's older, who has medical issues swapping over? Is that a problem?
Well, so you want your bank account, your for future
Right.
won't grow. If you're having to spend on that deductible.
but you can contribute to it all the way up until the time you get Medicare. You're on Medicare, so, you know, even though I'm not working anymore, I still contribute and I can until I hit 65 or whatever. Helps on, it's just, people we gotta find an easy way to explain, because like I said, especially for the young folks, they can build, an account to help them with their future health costs
They
and,
can build equity in that.
oh my God, yeah.
This is, there was a program, or it still may exist, where you contribute, but at the end of the year, it all goes away.
No, that's
Well,
different.
So those are
Yeah,
flex spending
That's
accounts.
flex spending, yeah.
Yeah.
So that differs from the health savings account.
Right, this really is like a 401k for health plan, but you could use it to pay your premiums, your co-pays, your doctor bills, you can use it for whatever, you don't have to wait until you're a certain age to use it, you put money in, you can use it the same year,
Yeah.
you know, so it's always available to you. But it really helps at tax time like it allows, if you're healthy and your family's healthy, you can just grow a nice pot of money tax. It's free, it's good stuff.
So that was MMA. As folks, I think know, the community center, the old community center at Harbors Point, they are moving in a different direction, leasing it out to a local company. So we still have a conversation potentially about the public restrooms, but certainly not the rest of the building. So that has.
Well, can we put like take an action to make a decision about where the public bathrooms are going to be this summer? We've been talking about it. And I'd like us to, if for some reason we can't work something out on the community center, then talk to, you know, whether it's the historical museum or, you know, one of the restaurants. We've got to have a decision and do something. I just,
Bravo, stepped up, didn't they?
I thought they were going to, but then, you know, I don't know if anybody talked to them at the town, but I just think we gotta do something. So I'd love for this community center thing to work out, but I don't wanna put all our eggs in one basket. I'd rather be
But I'm
working.
not, you know, the question is, the community center is a private entity that's gonna be occupying
Right.
that. And they're
And
gonna
they-
want people
exactly.
wandering in and out,
That's
or
ex-
do we ask to add to the side of the building? And I can tell you right now, one of the principals of Harbors Point would rather, if you're talking building public restrooms, he doesn't think that's the place to put it, he thinks it should be over the park.
All I'm saying is, do we need to put something in the budget? Do we not need to put something in the budget? I'm not clear on the actions being taken, but we've gotta have the public.
What about the Masons building?
It's too far away, isn't it?
I mean, we got that trail. It's really, if you're by Cape Ann Savings, it's right through that little trail. It's not far at all. It's really no further than walking from there to Reed Park.
It's something to explore.
I mean, I'm
We have
not
to get
saying
the
it's a
building first.
forever thing, but.
Yeah, honestly, something is better than nothing.
Right.
And I just feel like we're putting all our eggs in one basket. I'd rather we work parallel paths and see who wins the race, you know? Let's,
It seems like if you walk through there,
I walk
yeah,
it
I
tonight.
mean, it's right there. It's
Yeah.
really not that far.
Some point No, it's a great shortcut.
If we can use Bravo without having to build anything, that seems like
Yeah,
the best.
yeah,
choice.
if we can make that
If
work.
we can make some
Yeah.
accommodation with them, so that,
let's just
but
make sure we do something.
No, I think the
I just wanted
We
something
talked
about the
about-
water or what.
they
yeah.
wanted an abatement on the water.
Which,
I don't know if you ever get into that. She's so flighty though.
Yeah,
We can, I can ask. She's in Florida for the next 3 weeks. Or 2 weeks. We can get some answers before the summer happens.
if we wanted to put anything in the Masons building, that would be construction and. Yeah.
So we need a now solution, and then there may be a better long-term solution we can keep talking about, but I think we need a now solution.
Two porta potties next to the, at,
Something.
Reed Park.
they
I mean-
do make these like You see them at.
We had that high.
Little trailer.
The first year that the, secret passage was,
Right.
that was nicer than any bathroom I'd seen.
Those, yeah, it was the nicer trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we could maybe park that,
Yeah.
something,
Then they had the real fancy ones at the trade show.
Yeah.
You just seen, they were like a small house, like $250,000 for a public
Actually-
bathroom that cleans itself, you know? I was like,
put
whoa.
it right back where we had it before.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah, something.
And that's right on the, it's on the secret passage.
Yeah.
That no one knows about. So it's the
Which is
100,
not
so it's the
listed in
100
the
acre way.
signs that we're going to put up.
Right, the Wayfaring, oh, never mind.
Near term and long term, let's,
Now you mention, it, I remember that was a really, really, really nice bathroom, nicer than mine.
Let's see, so the operations audit, I hope to have the draft to you, on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. And then we would have, after you had a chance to read over any comments, some potential edits, and then we would have Bill come in and give a presentation. Probably that first meeting in March. The fire at 109 Summer Street, really good response and excellent hard work, prevented it from spreading, kept it to the garage. So a really good effort for all public safety, DPW helping out, our mutual aid partners coming in. It was an excellent effort all around.
Managing control of that many people from that many organizations is really remarkable.
So yeah, everyone knew what they were to do and they did it. So that was a good example of things working well.
It's a tight little driveway there. So,
Yeah, no, very long driveway. Quite a length of hose they had to run.
yeah,
With
I
frozen.
saw it on the street the next morning.
yeah.
Like, these guys have their hands full.
So,
Jake was tired that morning, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mason Building discussions, we're getting closer, I think, to finalizing the PNS. Hope to move that along this week. Noise ordinance, and I think you mentioned this about wanting to update, perhaps modify the current noise ordinance. The current noise ordinance says major construction has to wait till 8 AM. For a project like CST, that they would prefer an earlier start. The planning board recommended that as part of their permit, but they can't override the general bylaw that we have.
The planning board recommended that we.
Grant an earlier start, yes.
How much early?
So they're talking 7.
Most constructions, in the city starts at 6, but outside the city, it's 7
7
o'clock.
o'clock, yeah.
And that also would alleviate traffic, school traffic during the, as far as the impact on school traffic.
Right, that was part of the rationale. The planning board noted that they would like to avoid that conflict of school buses and parents driving, kids driving to the
That's what it's
schools.
like. So it's 7 to 2, they're out usually, unless they're going 2 shifts.
But are they gonna be running hammers on excavators and stuff like, I mean, I'm a little worried about the people across the way. I
Sure.
mean,
Sure.
is there gonna be an issue there, or?
They will have some concerns, yes.
I mean, starting at 7's, I mean, believe me, I get that, but,
Monday through Friday anyway.
right, but, I mean, if you got a hammer on an excavator running at 7 in the morning, that's a little different than,
It's across a highway.
I know, but it does carry through there, cause I drive through there every morning,
Stop it.
change my route to work. So, regular construction, I don't see any problem, but,
So we're talking the first, what, 6
So
or 8
the
months?
bylaw specifically talked about heavy duty construction and heavy duty noise from them. So it doesn't prohibit you to get started. It would prohibit the hammering from starting at 7. As
So
it's
that would be
currently
what?
written.
not 8, 9, 8, what is that?
8,
8,
yeah.
okay.
Is there an ability to compromise here and do 7:30?
Well, I mean, they can start work, they just can't start hammering. till
Yeah,
8,
take them,
right?
they can come in, have their copies set up.
Beyond that,
Yeah.
the penalty is $100 a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
which
it'll
is
probably
nothing.
start at 7 anyway,
Mhm.
penalty.
Built that into the cost.
I just want to
Yeah,
be
cost of
conscious of,
business.
you know, people on Mill Street because they've been through a lot, so.
Headphones, buy them all Bose headphones.
And lastly, Sarah Pierce has her hand up, but let me just do my last item here, which is Nielsen Street. So Chuck has been working with our engineering firms, and they do feel that 100,000 that we have currently in the capital plan would be an excellent effort and get sufficient information to have good conversations. We continue to try to see additional grant opportunities to see if we can supplement that for additional outreach and participation. So those two updates. So that's what I had, and as I said, Sarah has her hand up.
Sarah, please.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I just had another question. I heard you mention the PNS for the Masonic Lodge and just wondered where things stood. Obviously, you can't proceed with doing anything inside of there until that is signed, but are you still planning on sharing that space for a senior center and any timeline as far as once the PNS is signed, when that would take place?
So construction, in terms of addition and renovating the space, probably the earliest that could take place would be potentially the fall. More realistically, it's probably a year away. So in the interim, there would be an ability to use the existing space as it is for different community activities.
So once you sign the PNS, from what I understood from the meeting, I thought there needed to be some other funds raised, but is that not, or maybe I misunderstood that?
For the construction, yes. I mean, though the board has had some preliminary discussions about going ahead and having the town approve the necessary bond, and with the anticipation that the bond would be paid back through fundraised dollars.
So is that something that would be on the spring town meeting or?
Yes, correct.
Okay. No, I just wondered, people have asked me about the senior center and what, I mean, I don't know what the plans are. They're not clear or anywhere, so I just wanted to check in on that. One other item, while we're on the topics of what you're discussing, I personally would think it would be a better idea not to put bathrooms in Reed Park, for a variety of reasons. What about something that's more like in the area of the hardware store? Could something be added on to that building that's pretty centrally located and not waterfront? Because those bathrooms can tend to be, if they're not well kept up, kind of not what you want in a park. Just a thought.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, the challenge is what is public land versus private, and what kind of deals can be made with a private landowner.
Yeah. Okay, just a thought. Thank you.
Do we need an executive session?
I'm sorry?
Who's on the agenda? Do we need an executive session?
No,
Don't need-
not unless you want to have further discussion, but no, I don't feel the need.
And I move to adjourn.
Yes.
Nancy says, Kathy,
Yes.
and Jeff says.
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, I was impressed.
Thank you.
This is what happens when you sit as right-handed God. I keep things moving right along.
Yeah.